Hello, Lions fans, and welcome to episode 55 of Just Lying Around, Detroit Lions podcast presented by the World of Football. I'm your host, Kyle Sutherland, and I am joined by my co-host and brother-in-law, Adam Snow. Adam, today is yesterday was a Super Bowl, and
Well, okay, hold on. It's okay. I know the magic of editing is crazy to you. We're recording on Super Bowl Sunday. The show is probably going up Monday. Just because we don't want to, have the Super Bowl viewership get knocked down by us posting our show. We don't want to distract from the big game at the end of the NFL season. So uh, that's what we're doing. So sorry for the confusion, Kyle. I know that hurt your head a little bit.
I thought I had to go down, take a nap, but
It's okay. Randy does
what
the
else
same
is on?
thing.
You know what else is on today? The Puppy Bowl, I believe. So
Yeah.
I'm really eager to watch that. So, are you going to watch the Super Bowl or the Puppy Bowl?
I'm gonna watch both. The Puppy Bowl is gonna have some Superman stuff in it, so I'll check it out at some point. I'm sure.
All right, well, that's good to hear. So, let's get on today's show here. We're going to talk about some trade rumors, Pro Bowl recap for some of the Lions players, and then we're going to go back over the Lions 2024 season and give out our awards from most valuable Lion to our favorite player of the season, um, best rookie of the class for the Lions. But yeah, we're going to go over and give out many awards for these Lions players
Heck yeah.
from the past season. But before we do that, let's talk about some trade rumors here. News broke out last week that Myles Garrett wants to be traded to a Super Bowl contender team next year. A lot of fans out there, news outlets, are saying, man, if the Lions could pick him up, it'd be great, this and that. But I want to just go over a few things of what it would take for the Lions to possibly get Myles Garrett. So first thing would probably have to give up a few first round picks and maybe throw in like a cheap player on a couple year contract for the Browns. If not that, then you probably have to throw in maybe like a second or third round pick also. So that right there, like if they were just going to go out and give like the Browns two first round picks, you got to think about maybe like this year 28 and next year if they do win the Super Bowl will be 32. So you got to weigh those options where like talent wise, either get two guys late in the first round pick or Myles Garrett. I mean, that itself would probably equal out if you're just going off that. But if you're having to throw in other picks as well, then that's where it kind of gets tricky there. Other thing is Browns are currently negative 30 million in cap space already, uh, going into next season, and I heard a couple times so far from different sources that say if the Browns were to trade away Myles Garrett, that'd put them in a minus 60 million and cap space for next season. So that's another thing for the Browns to look at too. I don't know if trading away Myles Garrett would. I don't think that would help him at all as far as like having to cut more players, just trying to get out of cap space or getting a positive for cap space. So um,
Well, there's a
that's
lot of
another
things
big.
teams can do. I mean,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, I mean, you see that and they work their cap magic. They throw it down the road. I don't know. It's a bunch of imaginary numbers to an extent. So I don't think that'd be a problem. If Myles Garrett wants out, they're going to let him go. Otherwise, what? You're going to eat all that money and not have him play like anywhere? Like, so I think something will happen, whether it's a team covering cost or whatever that they trade with. That could be something else in a trade. I don't know what's more surprising, that they would fall to an even worse cap debt, or that you have sources that tell you this stuff. I don't know
Oh,
what
it's
sources you've accumulated since starting this podcasting, but I haven't heard of them. So,
just gotta look.
oh,
Oh yeah. But moving on there. Other thing is Myles Garrett is currently on a 2 year contract. If he does get traded to a different team, he's probably looking for a contract contract extension. And for the Lions, that's probably not. That's going to probably be a deal breaker as they're looking to possibly extend Kirby Joseph, Aiden Hutchinson, Brian Branch, and maybe or hopefully Jameer Gibbs as well over this year and next year. So if they were to sign Myles Garrett and do a contract extension for Myles Garrett, you're probably looking at maybe one or two of these key players for the Lions currently that will not get a contract extension and probably have to move on to a different team. So I don't think the Lions are gonna be um, looking to do that
I don't
currently.
know. I think realistically, like I don't think this is going to happen anyway. I don't think he's going to go to Detroit as much as we all would like it, and I think he would actually help. Realistically, if it were to happen, I think you can give him 2 firsts and a third, and you're good, and move on from there. The contract situation, I don't know. I mean, to be with a Super Bowl contender and to actually want to win, who knows? Maybe he restructures his deal. Uh, who knows? Hard to say. It sounds like if he wants to win, he's going to figure out a way to do it. You can't be the highest paid defensive player or whatever you're looking for and go to win a Super Bowl. I think you don't want to ham fist a team that you're just getting traded to. So I feel like he would play ball with whatever team tried to get him. But again, we'll see. I don't know if this is a scenario that Detroit will actually go through with. Brad Holmes hasn't shown that he's willing to make a big trade like this, especially for first round picks yet. But then again, we're not rebuilding anymore. We have good draft capital. You made a point earlier about the first round picks. At pick 28 and pick 32 or whatever, if you're picking late in the first round, that's the kind of draft picks you're getting from a team that's a contender trading with the Browns. So I don't know. I think Brad Holmes, while he could make something out of those picks, I also think trading and getting a Myles Garrett would be better than any of those picks he'd get. And they've been hitting on their second, third, fourth. They've been hitting on these other round picks. If is Detroit, that it wouldn't concern me. I would actually dish out the 2 first round picks and give it a shot. I mean, you're kind of in a win now mode almost now. Now that we've built up a team, we got a few holes to fill. You can do some of that in the draft. We can do some of it in free agency as the team with the 8th most cap space as of right now. You get a Myles Garrett, I think that helps put you over the top. But we'll have to see. Injuries will also play a factor again next year. So wait and see mode for me. I'm not, I want this to happen, but it won't bum me out if it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, if Miles, if it only took like 2 firsts and like you said a third for Miles Garrett, and he came into the Lions saying, "Don't worry about the contract extension this year or next year," um, then yeah, I'd be all for it. But if you wanted to come into a new team wanting a contract extension and having to kick these other key players they want to extend out, yeah, I'd say no on that. I would be bummed out if like someone like Chicago or Green Bay or the Vikings did like a first and a third and that's all it took, and then the Lions didn't do anything.
Right.
I'd be a little upset about that.
Same.
So yeah, let's move on to another surprise trade. The Rams surprised Cooper Cup last week also, saying they want to trade him next season, which kind of sounded like Cooper Cup wanted to retire as a Ram, so he was kind of blindsided about this news. I don't think the Lions should go for Cooper Cup. There's stats out there that said Cooper's only played 30 something games in the past 3 seasons combined. So that'd be a tough deal for the Lions to uh, do with his availability if his injuries pop up and stuff. Because right now they got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams. Hopefully they get Tim Patrick back again. Khalif Raymond. Um, so I mean, it'd be great if the Lions could get him, but you gotta also look at he has 2 years left on his contract right now, and is looking at a 29 million cap hit this year coming up, and a 27 million cap hit the year after that. So those are kind of tough numbers to swing around.
Yeah, again, look, money can be moved and managed, and they can restructure. I don't think the Lions go for this deal either. You don't need a wide receiver, but the long shot of it being he's played with Jared Goff, so there's familiar there. Um, I actually think adding him to the two great receivers we have, it would make probably the best receiving core in football. If you added a Cooper Cup like that, even though he's a little old on the older side, but I don't know. Again, not a trade that excites me, but if it happens and it happens at the right cost, like okay, if it's just them giving up a third or a fourth for Cooper Cup, and you can restructure his deal, why not?
Uh, well, you got to think about too, like Lions offense right now is not a problem. Like
It's
they're
not,
ranked in the top
but
fifth.
Kyle, if you have five guns, wouldn't a sixth gun be better?
I think that'd be a little overkill.
Welcome to America in 2025, Kyle. It's overkill. But I think, look,
I'd rather. No.
I like Tim Patrick, and I hope they get him back, and I think that's the more realistic option. But look, just hypothetically, let's entertain it for a second. A Cooper Cup in that Lions offense, who are you stopping? You already got Jameer Gibbs and Montgomery coming out of the backfield. It would probably be the best, most talented offense in all of football if it wasn't already. I mean, the options are endless. You can't double team both Cooper Cup and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams because that's half your defense. And then you got a Jameer Gibbs and you got a Montgomery and you got a Laporta and you got Jared Goff when he decides to run. So who knows?
You can have a great offense, but if your defense still sucks, you
That's
still
true.
got
That's
problems.
where the focus has got to be this offseason is getting that defense shored
Yeah.
up. But look, like I said, for the right price, I would not shake my head at a Cooper Cup trade. As long as we're not, having to pay that full $29 million cap hit, shoot. If they can restructure it and you can get him for a cheap price, do it. But I don't see it happening anyway. So
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's it for like the trade rumors so far. There's probably going to be a bunch more coming out. They just announced what Debo Samuel's informed the team he wants to be traded. So
yeah, I think they granted him pursuing a trade partner. So
yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out as well.
yep.
But moving on here, let's talk about the Pro Bowl real quick. Jared Goff,
Do we
he
have
won the
to?
Pro. What?
Do we have to talk about the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, we do. I really enjoyed it.
Uh, you did? Oh God, you're the one person.
Anyways, okay. Jared Goff won the Pro Bowl offensive MVP. He going for 10 of 11 for 126 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also scored like what was it, 44 points in the quarterback drill
Yes, he did.
Thursday.
Thursday night, yeah.
We also had Brian Branch and Jameer Gibbs both had an interception during the flag football game. Um, if you noticed also, Sewell and St. Brown both did not attend the Pro Bowl games as both are rehabbing from an injury. So that allowed Taylor Decker, I think that was his first time going to a Pro Bowl, I think. And then but Malik Neighbors from the Giants took St. Brown's spot. So I
Yep.
believe they still got paid, but they didn't get like the winning team didn't get that bonus or whatever.
Right. Look, I only watched the Thursday night stuff. I was rooting for Jared Goff at the beginning, and after that, didn't care. Sunday, didn't watch any of it. I saw that Goff won MVP or offensive MVP. I watched some of the Lions posted some great behind the scenes clips or mic'd up clips of Jared Goff at the game and some of the guys. It is what it is. Look, the Pro Bowl needs to die. That's all I got with that.
All right. Well, hopefully next year they do. They gotta be hearing things from like fans or whatever that the Pro Bowl isn't interesting anymore. So hopefully they change things up. But
Well, if I don't know what the viewership numbers is, but it's all about that money. You see how many people were still packing out that stadium, like
well,
to
yeah,
see
a bunch
that.
of families and kids and stuff. I think.
Well,
All right. So let's get into the big topic for this video here. We have the 2024-2025 Just Lying Around Awards. So we'll jump into this here. Our first two topics we're going to go over real quick here, as the Lions didn't really have a big draft class. The first one being Offensive Rookie of the Year. For me, it'd be Christian Mahogany, offensive lineman. Stepped in for a few games at the guard position, did an outstanding job. So hopefully his trajectory goes up from there, and maybe kind of battles for a starting spot with not Zeitler. Hopefully they bring Zeitler back, but the other guy, Graham Glasgow, and hopefully he can start. But Adam, what's your pick?
I also went with Christian Mahogany, and a small sample size for sure, but like you said, the offensive firepower or offensive rookie pool was not that deep. So made this one a little bit easier. He was a round 6 pick number 210 out of Boston College. Like you said, stepped in a couple points, and I thought did a decent job. You paid a little more attention to him than I did. We talked about prior. So I went with him, even though there was one guy who I guess wasn't an offensive rookie. He was more of special teams, but we are doing a special teams rookie because how often do we have a special teams rookie?
Yeah, you're talking about Sione Vaki, right?
Sure, if that's what you want. I was talking about the guy that kicks the ball, but it's okay. We can move on.
Oh, okay, Jake Bates. He's not a rookie.
Technically, yes, he's an NFL rookie, but we can move on.
Okay.
I mean,
So
look at
next
his
one
stats.
is
He's only got 1 year under his belt. I'm just saying, that's a
okay.
rookie.
Well, all right. We'll have to change things up next year.
Well, we'll see how often. We're not going to get a new kicker and punter next year, so it's okay. We don't have a special teams rookie.
All right. So defensive rookie of the year for me, Terrion Arnold, defensive back. Started off a little shaky there, but I felt like at the end of the season he kind of stepped up in a big way. Um, Depending on if they bring Carlton Davis back or not, I can see Terrion Arnold being the number one cornerback for the Lions. So, yeah. Adam, what's your pick?
I also went with Tyrion. Tyrion, however you want to say it. Round 1, pick number 24 from Alabama. Started off rough this year, but I think you could see his progression as the year went along. His Pro Football Focus stats, which I usually don't pay too much mind to, but he wasn't graded super high. But from the eye test and how he played throughout the season, I think he greatly improved over those first 5 games. Felt like a different guy at the end of the year. Yeah, he still took a couple of penalties, but I think it was a difference when he was out there and when he wasn't out there. And to me, that's a good sign. I think he's got nowhere to go but up. So, yep, he is my defensive rookie of 2024.
Yeah, and you got to remember their first season with the Lions before they even get into training camp. Like they're just training for like the uh, whatever test they have to take for the
With that
draft.
Wonderlick?
So they're not really focused on like what these teams schemes are. So having to go into next year with working with the Lions and their scheme, I think that's going to be a big help for Terrion Arnold to make that next jump up there.
Yeah.
So next one is Defensive Player of the Year for me. Well, I'll tell you what, Adam, why don't you go first?
Okay, yeah, we can change it up since I have all your list here, so you don't know who I'm picking. I'm going with Kirby Joseph. Safety, he led the league with 9 interceptions. He was the highest rated safety by Pro Football Focus. Snubbed for the Pro Bowl. Snubbed for Defensive Player of the Year, in my opinion. He was absolutely like the best safety in the NFL. I had the stats to back it up. He was, if not like a top 10, he was at the top of a lot of categories, pass breakups and whatnot, if I remember looking at the thing correctly on Pro Football Focus. So Kirby, got a bad rap as well from other teams saying he's a dirty player, but you actually watch him play. The dude just plays. And 9 interceptions. And haters going to hate, and I want to give Kirby the love that he didn't get from the Pro Bowl and from, being Defensive Player of the Year because I think he should have been in consideration. So that's my pick, Kirby.
All right. For me, I picked Jack Campbell, linebacker out of Iowa. Second season. He played all 17 games, led the team in tackles with 131, had 1.5 sacks, 5 pass defended, 5 tackles for loss, and he ranked 10th of the linebackers according to PFF. He also took over the Mike position, calling out the defensive plays for the defensive side. So good on him. I think it's just going to be next year will be another year where he kind of makes another big jump for the Lions. Next one, Offensive Player of the Year for me, of course, it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. Played all 17 games, ended up with 1,412 rushing yards, 517 receiving yards, 20 total touchdowns, and 5.6 yards per carry. So I think if this team did not have Montgomery, I think he would have beat Saquon Barkley and all the stats. So I think this guy is going to be a future Hall of Famer if he keeps up like the way he's playing now.
I 100% agree with you. That's a great pick. I went in a different direction with it. As great as Jahmyr is, my Offensive Player of the Year is going to be Jared Goff. 390 of 539 attempts. That's a 72.4 completion percentage. Is pretty darn good. 4,629 passing yards, which was second most in the league this season. He threw for 37 touchdowns, which was a career high, only 12 interceptions. He got selected to the Pro Bowl. He finished fifth in the MVP voting. He finished ninth in Offensive Player of the Year voting. Jared Goff just simply played fantastic this year. I mean, yes, a couple of bad games, but everybody has a bad game now and then. I think Jared Goff, he's the glue to this offense. I know people could say, oh, you can insert any quarterback and they'd be better than Goff. Well, guess what? Jared Goff did pretty good in his own darn right. I want to put some respect on the man's name. I think he was great. On the offensive side of the ball, he facilitated so much of how that offense worked. As much as Gibbs was electric, and Gibbs did a lot of the work too towards the back half of the season, that's what it was. It was once Montgomery went down, and it was the Gibbs show. I think really showcased him. But I think Goff was consistent all year long. He also had those stretches of just perfect or near perfect or fantastic passer rating for 4 or 5 game stretches at 2 points during the season. He just played super efficient football, and you don't see that a whole lot. So that's why Goff gets my recognition for this award this year.
All right. So moving on, Most Improved Player of the Year. Adam, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Spoiler alert. I'm going to say we picked the same guy, Kyle, so we can both talk about it. It's Jameson Williams. It's Jameson. You look at his stats from last year. Yeah, he had the suspension and the injury and all that last year. Another suspension for a couple games, but just what he did, he was electric. Although I forget the exact number of touchdowns he's had over 50 yards. It's insane that his first 6 touchdown catches were all over 50 yards, whatever. But you look at his stats, and I want to steal your thunder, but I'm going to steal your exact stats you put in the notes. 1,062 total yards, 8 touchdowns versus the 380-ish he had last year. So the dude did everything, so great improvement. He's just got to get some of that off the field crap figured out. This dude's special. So
yeah, we'll have to see how next year goes, especially with Antoine Randall L. It's kind of a big mentor for Jameson Williams, and having Teddy Bridgewater come back for a couple games, also helping out Jameson Williams. So hopefully, yeah, like you said, Jameson Williams stays out of trouble, has another big year next year. And hopefully the Lions will see that and kind of, if he does good next year, I hope they extend him as well.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on, best offseason transaction. For me, I'd have to pick Kevin Zeitler, offensive lineman. Did one heck of a job there for the Lions, lining up with Sewell on one side and Frank Ragnow on the other. I believe he only missed, what, 1 or 2 games this season.
Yeah.
So if the Lions can re-sign him, I know he's probably due for a big uh, cash grab next season or wherever he signs at. So we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Okay.
But what's your pick?
So mine, I was beating the drum for this guy since April of last year. I wanted them to sign him all off season, and he made it onto the roster. And then an injury happened, and he got thrust into the position. And I think he has been clutch for this team, and that's Jake Bates, kicker. Got him from the Michigan Panthers. Look, he was 26 of 29 field goals all season, longest of 58 yards. A couple of those could have been booted from 80,000 yards. So, great addition there. He was 64 of 67 on extra points all season. It's got Jake Bates. He was consistent, played all 17 games. He was a guy that we all rallied around. He won a couple games for us, game-winning kicks. Got to go Jake Bates here as my the best transaction because he was the guy I wanted. We needed a kicker, and we got him, and a guy that hopefully we can have for a long time. I'll say that my runner-up pick, though, Kyle, and I want to see what you think about this, was almost Amik Robertson. Amik Robertson was a very nice dark horse signing by the Lions this past offseason.
Yeah, I think him too. Like I thought about him also. You gotta also look at Tim Patrick.
Yeah, almost went Tim too. So
yeah, so plus all the defensive players as well. Mohammed kind of jumped out of nowhere after we got some massive key linemen hurt as well. So yeah, they had a couple guys you could have picked from, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so game of the year. You remember 2 years ago when the Cowboys won against the Lions? Very upsetting ending for the Lions. I think that would have propelled the Lions to the first seed 2 years ago if they would have won
probably
against
so
the
is your
Cowboys.
so are you telling me that your game of the year this year is a game that happened 2 years ago, Kyle? I don't think that happened, and that we lost that game. Why would you pick a loss as your game of the year?
Oh, I'm just doing a recap, so hold your horses.
Oh, is that what's happening? Okay.
But for this year, the game of the year for me is the Lions versus Cowboys when the Lions went into Jerry's World on his birthday and totally spanked the Cowboys. But 47-9. Lions had 492 total yards versus Dallas's 251 yards. Lions ended up causing the Cowboys to have 5 turnovers versus the Lions 0. Branch had 2 interceptions. Overall, it was a great game. The only thing that sucked about this game was Aiden Hutchinson broke his leg during that game. So
Yep, you took it from
that really
that's the one thing keeping me from picking that game, Kyle. That's what ruined the taste of that game in my mind. We should have been feasting for generations off of this game. That Aiden Hutchins injury really, took it out of the consideration for me.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, that was my game of the year. What is yours?
So I'm going. It was a Sunday night football game, Lions versus Texans. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions during this game, which sucked. The Lions were down 23-7 at halftime, which sucked. I saw no way the Lions were going to win this game, even though part of me, I kept watching, Kyle. I kept watching and being like, maybe, why am I still watching this? I should turn it off and go to bed. I have work in the morning. But I kept watching, Kyle. And what I watched was the Lions claw back to victory. And then at the end of the game on a Jake Bates field goal, which missed the goalpost by this much, literally probably grazed it, just a gentle kiss, Kyle, to get into the, into the net behind the goalpost for a Lions victory was chef's kiss, awesome. You got to love a comeback victory, and in a game where your quarterback throws 5 interceptions and does not look great, but stays poised and confident and still helps lead your team to victory. That was the mark for this team, especially, that I was like, this team is special. There's there's no telling what can happen, even when they're down, that they can claw their way back and, you know, and overcome any obstacle. That's why even in that playoff game against Washington, I was like, they can still do it. Even though they didn't, I've never had that kind of confidence in a team, and that game was the perfect encapsulation of what I felt this team was and could be. It's, you can knock them down, they're going to find a way. So,
All right. Interesting pick there. So let's move on to the play of the year for me. Week 4 versus the Seahawks. I know the past couple of years prior to that, Seahawks has always had our number, always beaten us somehow. But for me, the play of the year would be when Goff threw to Monty, and Monty ended up with running for over almost 40 yards. But the thing that got me is when he trucked Witherspoon at the line of play and going on to running for the 40 yards there.
that's a
But
pretty good play.
yep. So what was your pick play of the year?
I had quite a few. I even asked my girlfriend what her play would have been, and she came up with one I didn't even think of. And we'll get to that. But my play is actually going to be from the same game, Week 4, Monday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks, where Amon-Ra St. Brown gets pitched the ball and throws it back to Jared Goff for a touchdown. That play was great. It was awesome. I didn't think Jared Goff had it in him. I didn't think Amon-Ra St. Brown could throw the ball like he did. He threw a dot, and that play was awesome. But it really, I mean, it's a thin margin because my runner-ups were the 2 lateral plays the Lions had, the one against the Cardinals, the other one against the 49ers. Those were my first 2 that kind of came to mind, but then I thought about the Goff touchdown. And then my girlfriend brought up her favorite play, which was the Goff stumble touchdown pass against the Bears, which I was like, that's also a great play. So a lot of great plays for the Lions this year, but I think Jared Goff catching a touchdown pass is something I would not have had on my bingo card.
Yeah, you think those laterals are going to be, I guess, used more next season by all teams after seeing like the
I
Lions being so successful?
I don't know, because I think teams are scared. The Chiefs were doing it before, and nobody was really doing it. So I think teams are still going to be kind of scared, and it's going to be very situational. But it might start. It's like the Wildcat offense. When remember that was hot and everybody tried to do it. It's just some teams can and can't do it. I think they're going to play cautious, and we won't see it as much as we think we should.
All right. Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I think, like, yeah, like you said, some teams will be scared, especially if they like pitch it off to the person behind them and they don't catch the ball and it's a fumble. So
It's a very risky play.
yeah. So our last award for the this um, video here, most valuable lion. Um, so for me, well, yeah. So I'll go first. I'm gonna
Okay.
pick Aiden Hutchinson. He only played 5 games, so I don't know if that's like a cop out or whatever. But he ended the season with 7.5 sacks, 1 fumble, 29 quarterback pressure. And if he did end up playing the whole season, I have no doubt in my mind he would have been Defensive Player of the Year. Probably, I don't know, MVP status as well, with just the way he was playing before he got hurt. So that's who I chose. Adam, what did you choose?
Well, I want to go back. Oh, your pick real quick. Not a bad pick. I could see the value of an Aiden Hutchinson, which clearly his presence was sorely missing. So losing a guy like that, and you saw the kind of production we didn't get when he was not in there. While the defense at times still played decent, it wasn't the same level of production. So I could see the value in that. I get. Uh, would I have given him the award? No. So I'm giving my most valuable Lion Kyle. I mean, it's your award. You do whatever you want with it. But I'm going to give my award to Jahmyr Gibbs. You had him as your offensive player. I was almost going to do that, but I was like, you know what? I think he was more valuable to us, especially on the offensive side of the ball. The 1,412 rushing yards, the 517 receiving yards, 20 total touchdowns, and averaging 5.6 yards a carry, which felt like more. Whenever he touched the ball, he just seemed like he was going to pop off for 10 yards. He was almost a guaranteed first down every time he touched the ball, much like a Barry Sanders back in the day. But I just think when Gibbs finally got the opportunity to kind of play solo back, that really opened up, I think, a lot of fans' eyes as to why are we running a 2 running back system? It should just be Jahmyr Gibbs all the time, anytime. And we watched him truck guys. We watched him run by guys. He did everything. And I think he was outstanding this year. He really came out and proved that he's a top 3 running back in the National Football League. But don't get me wrong, I love Monty, and I think there's still a place for Monty in this offense and to give Gibbs a little bit of rest every now and then. But we'll see how that changes the dynamic next season, having both guys back and healthy. But Jahmyr he was so fun to watch this year. So I think his value now is higher more than ever. When it comes time to re-sign him, you're looking at probably the top running back, second or third best contract for running backs in the National Football League.
Yeah, we'll have to see on that one. I don't think I'd wait until his last season is up before you re-sign him because that number is only going to go up from there.
Yep, you got to lock him up.
Yeah, sign him, do that contract extension before then, so we can lock him up and hopefully stay a Lion for until he decides to retire there.
Hopefully. And hopefully he doesn't retire early like some other running backs, which we won't mention.
Okay. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
Not really. Just obviously the season didn't end the way we wanted, but they achieved quite a bit. We saw a lot of stuff out of some guys, and hopefully next year we can just build upon it. And if there's anything Dan Campbell's been really good at, it's building upon the year before. While we didn't get as far, he knew it was going to be hard to get as far as the NFC Championship game a second year in a row. But I think the Lions are poised to be in a nice position going into next year to where they should be another Super Bowl favorite, or at least in that conversation. We'll have to see how free agency and how the draft shakes out. But I'm feeling pretty confident going into this offseason, which is nice for a change. 2 years in a row. Also winning the division's a big thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, when Dan Campbell made that statement, it's going to get really hard to get back up there. That was even before all these injuries happened. So,
yeah.
One can only envision, like, what would the outcome been if, like, the team was, defensive side specifically, was healthy and not all these injuries happened. So,
it's a good question. We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. Okay, let's go ahead and close it out here.
All right, guys. Let me see. We hope you enjoyed listening or watching today's episode and come back for more. Be sure to check out the World of Football's website, www.theworldoffootball.com, for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. If you want to get in touch with us, send us an email to info@theworldoffootball.com, or you can connect with us by either liking The World of Football on Facebook or following our X account or our Instagram. The links for those will be down in the episode description. Be sure to check out our flagship podcast, This Week in the World of Football, which drops every Tuesday. And it'll be our last show on Tuesday for a few weeks before the indoor and arena season and spring football gets going. So we're going to take 3 weeks off on the main podcast there. So every Tuesday, be on the lookout for that in your podcast feed or on this very YouTube channel. Again, those links are down in the description below.
All right, that's it for us this week. If some crazy trade news comes up or something happens, you're probably looking at the next episode for Just Lying Around to be after the draft, which is April 24th through the 26th. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, season 2 of Just Lying Around. One heck of a season. So looking forward to the next season coming up here. Until then, remember, go Lions, and hopefully next year we make it to the Super Bowl. So thanks for watching.
Yeah, we've been saying that every year for as long as I've been around. Hopefully next year's the year we go to the Super Bowl.
It will be.
Yeah.
All right. Catch you guys later. Bye.